The transfer papers sat on my desk like a love letter written in corporate jargon. Employee reassignment, effective immediately, Department of Marketing to Department of Operations. I signed them with a smile that felt like swallowing glass. This was what you did for love, wasn't it? You made sacrifices. You compromised. You let your boyfriend convince you that working in separate departments was better for the relationship, because company policy frowned on interdepartmental dating and we couldn't risk HR getting involved. "It's temporary," Marcus had said, his hand warm on my thigh, his mouth doing that thing where he kissed just below my ear. "Just until things settle down. You understand, right, baby?" I understood. I always understood. I packed my desk in marketing, the department I'd fought to get into, where I'd built relationships and actually enjoyed my work, and moved 3 floors down to operations, where spreadsheets went to die and nobody knew my name. That was 4 months ago. 4 months of eating lunch alone while Marcus stayed in marketing, climbing the ladder I'd graciously stepped off. 4 months of "I'm working late" texts and "the team needs me" excuses. 4 months of watching the space between us grow wider while I told myself I was being supportive. I'm a fucking idiot. The realization hit me on a Thursday, which felt cosmically unfair. Thursdays were supposed to be boring, neutral, the kind of day where nothing happens except you realize you're out of coffee and contemplate the meaninglessness of existence. I wasn't contemplating existence. I was contemplating the photo currently burning a hole through my phone screen. Marcus. My Marcus, with his hand on another man's lower back, leaning in close enough to share breath outside a restaurant I'd never heard of. The photo had come from an unknown number. No message, just the image and a timestamp from 2 hours ago. My hands shook as I zoomed in. The other man was laughing, head tilted back, throat exposed. Marcus was looking at him the way he used to look at me. I should have felt shock. Devastation, the earth-shattering betrayal you see in movies where someone drops a glass in slow motion. Instead, I felt cold, calculating, like watching a puzzle finally click into place. The late nights, the sudden department bonding events I wasn't invited to, the way he'd started putting his phone face down on the table, the transfer that seemed so urgent, so necessary for us. There was no us. There was Marcus and his career and whoever the fuck that man was. My vision blurred. I wasn't crying. I refused to cry at my desk in operations where people barely knew I existed. I made it to the bathroom before the first sob hit. The bathroom became my confessional. I locked myself in the furthest stall and let 4 months of swallowed frustration pour out in ugly, gasping waves. My chest ached. My throat burned. I wanted to scream and break things and demand explanations I already knew. He lied. Simple as that. And I'd been so desperate to be the good boyfriend, the understanding one, that I'd handed him the knife and asked him where he wanted to stab first. When I finally emerged, eyes red and puffy, I looked exactly like what I was, a man who'd just had his heart handed back to him in pieces. I couldn't go home. Our home, the apartment we'd shared for 2 years, where his toothbrush sat next to mine and his clothes took up 70% of the closet. I needed noise, people, something to drown out the screaming in my head. I needed a drink. The bar was called Midnight, which was either ironic or lazy, depending on your perspective. It was the kind of place where the lighting was low enough to hide bad decisions and the music was loud enough to make conversation optional. Perfect. I slid onto a bar stool and ordered something that sounded expensive and tasted like regret. The bartender didn't ask questions, which I appreciated. I looked like disaster wrapped in a dress shirt and bad choices. The first drink went down smooth. The second burned. By the third, I was contemplating drunk texting Marcus something devastating and poetic that I'd definitely regret in the morning. "Rough night?" The voice came from my left. I turned, vision slightly blurred, and found a man watching me with something between amusement and concern. He was beautiful in that unfair way some people are. Sharp jawline, dark hair that looked deliberately messy, eyes that seemed to see too much. "You could say that," I muttered, taking another sip. "Let me guess. Relationship?" I laughed. It sounded broken even to my own ears. How'd you know? You've got that look, like someone just explained that Santa isn't real, and also he's been sleeping with your mom. I snorted into my drink. That's, oddly specific. I've been there. He gestured to the bartender. Another round for my friend here, and one for me. I'm not your friend. Not yet, he smiled. It was a dangerous smile, the kind that promised either trouble or salvation, possibly both. The night's young. The drinks arrived. We clinked glasses like we were sealing some sort of pact. I'm Ethan, he said. Julian. I downed half my drink. And yeah, it's relationship shit. Or what used to be a relationship before I found out it was apparently optional. Cheating? Bingo. I traced the rim of my glass. 4 months of working late and department bonding. I transferred departments for him, gave up a job I loved because he said it was better for us. Turns out, us meant him and whoever the hell he was actually spending time with. Ethan's expression shifted. Something flickered in his eyes. Recognition? Sympathy? But it was gone before I could name it. That's really she, he said quietly. Yeah, well, I'm an idiot. You're not an idiot. You're someone who trusted the wrong person. Pause. What's his name? Marcus. The name tasted bitter. Marcus fucking Chen from marketing. Ethan went very still. His glass stopped halfway to his mouth. What? I asked. He set the glass down carefully. Too carefully. You said marketing? Yeah, why? The silence stretched between us like a tightrope. Ethan looked at me, really looked at me, and I watched him do the same mental math I'd done earlier. Holy shit, he breathed. My stomach dropped. What? I work in marketing. The world tilted sideways. The bar, the music, and the carefully constructed wall between my anger and my breakdown, everything shattered. No, I whispered. Tall guy? Always wears expensive watches? Has that smile that makes you forget he's lying? I couldn't breathe. You're him. You're the one. Ethan's face had gone pale. I didn't know. I swear to God, I didn't know he had a boyfriend. He said... He stopped, ran a hand through his hair. Fuck. He said he was single. Of course he did. I should have left. Should have thrown my drink in his face, made a scene, stormed out like the wronged protagonist in some drama. Instead, I started laughing. Hysterical, unhinged laughter that made the bartender glance over with concern. You okay? Ethan asked carefully. I'm sitting in a gay bar, I managed between gasps, crying to the man my boyfriend's been cheating with. I'm the punchline to a joke I didn't even know I was telling. Ethan didn't laugh. He looked at me with something raw and genuine in his expression. I'm sorry. I'm really fucking sorry. I wouldn't have... If I'd known... But you didn't know, the laughter died. Neither of us did. That's the joke, isn't it? He played us both. We sat there in the wreckage of mutual betrayal, two strangers connected by the same lie. What happens now? Ethan asked. I looked at him, really looked at him, at the guilt in his eyes and the tension in his shoulders, at the way he was holding his glass like it might anchor him. Something shifted in my chest, something dark and delicious and probably inadvisable. Now? I smiled. It felt sharp. Now we make him regret it. Ethan's apartment was closer than mine, or maybe I just couldn't face going home to a space that still smelled like Marcus's cologne and broken promises. We stumbled through his door at 2 a.m, drunk on expensive cocktails and the kind of righteous fury that comes from realizing you've been played. I can't believe this, Ethan muttered, dropping his keys on the counter. 4 months. 4 months of sneaking around, feeling guilty about the secrecy, thinking it was romantic somehow. Try being the one who gave up his entire department for a relationship that was already over. I'm the world's biggest fool. You're not a fool. You're someone who loved the wrong person. Same difference. Ethan handed me water. Responsible. Considerate. Everything Marcus had stopped being months ago. So, what's the plan? He asked, sitting beside me. We confront him? Make a scene at work? Post revenge porn on the company Slack? Tempting, but I have a mortgage. I sipped the water. My head was starting to clear, and with it came something sharper than anger. Strategy. We could do something worse than confrontation. What's worse than confrontation? I turned to look at him. We haunt him. Ethan's eyebrows rose. Explain? No dramatics, no shouting matches in the break room. We just exist. Together. In his space. Make him see us separately, never knowing if we've talked, never knowing what we know. I leaned forward. We make him paranoid. We make him sweat. We watch him juggle lies until he drops them all. A slow smile spread across Ethan's face. That's diabolical. He lied to both of us for months. He deserves diabolical. You know what? Ethan raised his water glass. I'm in. Let's ruin his peace. We clinked glasses like we were sealing something sacred, a pact, an alliance, revenge with a smile. Ground rules, I said. We coordinate, but never together in public, at least not at first. We show up at his favorite places separately. We mention things only one of us should know. We're ghosts in his peripheral vision. And when he realizes we both know? I smiled. It felt feral. Then we let him try to explain his way out of quicksand. Ethan laughed. Actually laughed. It was a good sound. Warm and genuine in a way that felt foreign after months of Marcus's calculated charm. This is insane, he said. Probably. I'm absolutely doing it. We spent the next hour planning like generals before battle. I learned that Ethan was smart, scary smart, and had a memory for details that made him dangerous. He knew Marcus's schedule down to which coffee shop he frequented at which times. I knew his tells, the little things that meant he was lying or uncomfortable. Together, we were a weapon. By the time I left his apartment at 4 a.m, something had shifted. We weren't just two men betrayed by the same person. We were collaborators, conspirators, partners. The campaign began on Monday. I showed up at Marcus's favorite lunch spot, a bougie sandwich place near the office that served mediocre food at criminal prices, and sat 3 tables away. Not close enough to be obvious, close enough to be seen. Marcus walked in at 12:30, right on schedule. I watched him order, watched him check his phone, watched him settle into a corner booth like he owned the place. Then I watched his face when he spotted me. His eyes widened, just for a second. Then he schooled his features into something pleasant and surprised. Julian, he walked over, all casual confidence. What are you doing here? Lunch, I said simply. It's a public place. Right, of course. He shifted his weight. I didn't know you came here. I like trying new places. I took a bite of my sandwich, maintaining eye contact. You? Oh, team likes it here. We do lunch sometimes. Team, right. That's nice. Bonding is important. Something flickered in his expression. Uncertainty. He didn't know if I meant something or if I was just making conversation. Good. Yeah, well, I should probably say hi to the team for me. I miss marketing sometimes. He nodded, backing away like I might detonate. Sure, yeah. See you tonight? Maybe. I've got plans. I didn't have plans, but watching him try to figure out what that meant was worth the lie. He left without ordering. I finished my sandwich and texted Ethan. Phase 1 complete. He's rattled. The response came immediately. My turn tomorrow. This is fun. It was fun. More fun than it should have been. Ethan's approach was different, subtler. He mentioned in a team meeting that he'd tried this amazing new Thai place over the weekend. Described the pad Thai in detail, mentioned the ambiance, the service, the interesting crowd. Marcus went pale. I knew because I'd asked Ethan to record it, audio only, for evidence. The Thai place was where Marcus had taken me for our anniversary, 2 months ago, when he'd said he couldn't stay long because of work. Ethan had been there that same night, with Marcus, while I'd eaten alone in our apartment, telling myself he'd make it up to me. How did you find that place? Marcus asked in the recording, voice tight. Oh, someone recommended it, Ethan said casually. Can't remember who, but yeah, definitely going back. The silence was Delicious. We kept it up for 2 weeks. Little things. Mentions of places, times, inside jokes that shouldn't have been shared. We never acknowledged each other at work, never gave him anything concrete to grab onto. Just ghosts in his periphery, making him question everything. I'd see him in the hallway, distracted and jumpy. Ethan reported the same from marketing. Marcus was coming apart at the seams, and we'd barely touched him. "He asked me if I knew you," Ethan said during one of our evening planning sessions at his apartment. These had become regular, necessary, fun. "What did he say?" "That I'd heard of you. Operations, right? That transfer that happened a while back?" He grinned. Then I asked why. "And?" He said no reason, but he looked like he was going to throw up. I laughed. Actual, genuine laughter. When was the last time I'd done that? Ethan was watching me with this expression I couldn't quite name. Soft, warm, dangerous in entirely different ways than before. "What?" I asked. "Nothing. You look different when you laugh." "Different how?" "Less like someone who's plotting revenge, more like someone who's actually happy." The observations settled between us like a question neither of us wanted to answer. "I am happy," I said quietly. "This is working. We are working." "Yeah." His voice had dropped lower. "We are." The apartment felt smaller suddenly. Or maybe we were just sitting closer than before. I could smell his cologne, something clean and sharp that made my thoughts blur. "Julian, we should probably—" We spoke at the same time, then stopped. The air between us felt charged, electric. I should have left, should have maintained professional distance, should have remembered this was about revenge, not whatever this feeling was building in my chest. I didn't leave. Instead, I leaned forward and kissed him. He froze for half a second, surprise maybe, or second thoughts. Then he was kissing me back like he'd been waiting for permission. His hand fisted in my hair, pulling my head back, not gentle, not tentative, claiming. God. "This is a bad idea," I breathed against his mouth. "Terrible idea," he agreed, not stopping. "We're supposed to be focused on—" The apartment was quiet, except for our racing heartbeats. "So," Ethan said eventually, his voice hoarse, "that happened." I laughed weakly. "Yeah, that definitely happened." "Any regrets?" I thought about it. About Marcus and the plan, and how spectacularly we'd just complicated things. "No," I said honestly. "You?" He pulled me closer, pressing a kiss to my temple. Not even a little. We fell asleep tangled together on his couch, revenge temporarily forgotten in favor of something that felt suspiciously like peace. The next morning arrived with sunlight and clarity in equal measure. I woke up in Ethan's bed. We'd migrated sometime around 3 a.m. with his arm draped across my waist and his face buried in my hair. For a moment, I let myself pretend this was normal, that we were a normal couple waking up together instead of two men connected by betrayal at a possibly terrible idea. Then my phone buzzed on the nightstand. Marcus. "Where were you last night? Called 3 times. Are you okay?" The irony was so thick I could taste it. Ethan stirred beside me. "What time is it?" "Late. We should probably talk about last night." "What about it?" I turned to face him. In the morning light, he looked softer, younger, the dangerous edge replaced with something more vulnerable. "We slept together," I said. "That wasn't part of the plan." "Plans change," he stretched, completely unself-conscious about his nudity. "Do you want it to have been a mistake?" "Did I?" "I don't know what I want anymore," I admitted. 2 weeks ago, I wanted Marcus to suffer. Now I'm in bed with the man he was cheating with, and all I can think about is how good this feels. Ethan's expression grew serious. "What we did last night, it wasn't about him. Not for me." "What was it about?" "You." He said it simply, like it was obvious. "I like you, Julian. I like planning with you. I like how your brain works. I like how you laugh when you think no one's watching. This wasn't revenge sex. This was me wanting you." My chest tightened. "We barely know each other." We've spent almost every evening together for 2 weeks. I know you take your coffee black. I know you bite your thumb when you're thinking. I know your favorite movie is The Princess Bride, even though you pretend it's something more sophisticated. He touched my face. I know enough. This is insane. Most good things are. I kissed him. Couldn't help it. He was right there, being perfect and honest and everything Marcus had never been. We still need to deal with him, I said against his lips. I know. This doesn't change the plan. Wouldn't dream of it, he smiled. But maybe we can add a new goal. What goal? Don't let revenge be the only reason we're together. It was terrifying and exhilarating and exactly what I needed to hear. Okay, I said. Okay? Yeah, let's do this. Both things. Revenge and whatever this is. Ethan pulled me back into bed, morning light painting patterns across his skin. Best bad decision I've ever made. Same. We were probably going to regret this, probably going to crash and burn spectacularly, but for the first time in months, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. The next week, we escalated. Ethan started joining my lunch spot, not sitting with me, just being present, visible. Marcus noticed. How could he not? His boyfriend and his side piece suddenly occupying the same restaurant, the same coffee shop, the same spaces he'd carefully kept separate. Is there a reason you're suddenly everywhere? Marcus asked me on Wednesday, his voice tight. I like the neighborhood. It's got good food. You hate this area. You said it was overpriced and pretentious. People change. Since when? Since whenever I want, I smiled. Why? Does it bother you? His jaw clenched. No, it's just weird timing. Is it? I could see him doing the math, trying to figure out if this was coincidence or something else, trying to remember what he'd told me versus what he'd told Ethan. Watching him squirm was addictive. That evening, Ethan reported that Marcus had pulled him aside in marketing. He asked if I was seeing anyone, Ethan said, sprawled across my couch. We'd started alternating apartments for our planning sessions. It felt more balanced that way, less like I was invading his space. What did you say? That I was keeping my options open, he grinned. Then I asked if he was still single. You didn't. I absolutely did. Should have seen his face. I laughed, pulling him closer. These moments were becoming my favorite, the ones where we weren't plotting or scheming, just existing together. You know he's going to crack soon. Good, let him. What happens when he does? Ethan was quiet for a moment. I guess that depends on what we want to happen. Meaning, do we want an apology, closure, to watch him grovel? He shifted to look at me. Or do we want to just move on? The question hung between us. A month ago, I would have said I wanted blood, wanted Marcus to hurt the way I'd hurt. Now, I wasn't sure I cared about Marcus at all. I want to stop giving him power over my life, I said slowly. I want to stop centering everything around his betrayal. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have. Ethan kissed my temple. That's fair. We sat in comfortable silence, the TV playing something neither of us was watching. His hand traced absent patterns on my shoulder. I'm falling for you, he said quietly. Just thought you should know. My heart stuttered. Ethan, you don't have to say it back. I just wanted you to know where I'm at. He paused. This stopped being about revenge for me weeks ago. I turned to face him fully. He looked nervous, which was oddly endearing on someone usually so confident. I think I'm falling for you too, I admitted. It's terrifying. Why? Because what if this is just trauma bonding? What if when the revenge is over, we realize we don't actually work? Then we'll deal with it. But Julian, he cupped my face. This is real. What we have. It's not built on hate or hurt. It's built on actually seeing each other. You sound very sure. I am sure. About you. About us. I wanted to believe him. Wanted to trust that this wasn't just another mistake wrapped in good intentions. Okay, I said. Okay? Yeah, let's see where this goes. He kissed me, soft and sure and filled with promise. We were definitely in over our heads, definitely complicating an already messy situation. I'd never felt more hopeful. Marcus broke on a Friday. Fitting, really. End of the week. End of his composure. He showed up at my apartment unannounced, looking haggard and desperate. I was halfway through cooking dinner when the buzzer rang. "We need to talk," he said when I opened the door. "Do we?" "Julian, please, something's going on and I need to know." He stopped, looking past me into the apartment. "Is someone here?" Ethan emerged from the kitchen, wearing one of my shirts and holding a spatula. "Hey, didn't know we were expecting company?" The color drained from Marcus's face. "What?" He looked between us, comprehension dawning slowly. No way." "Way?" I said pleasantly. "Marcus, you remember Ethan from marketing. Ethan, this is Marcus, my ex-boyfriend." "We've met," Ethan said dryly. Marcus's mouth opened and closed like a fish. "You two are together?" I supplied. "Yeah, funny how that worked out." "You're fucking with me." "Actually, I'm fucking him now," I smiled. "Much better experience." Ethan snorted into his hand. Marcus looked like he'd been punched. "When did this happen?" "Does it matter?" "Yes! How long have you... Did you know? This whole time, have you known about you cheating?" I stepped closer. "Yeah, Marcus, we know. We've known for weeks." "Weeks?" His voice cracked. "You've been, what, torturing me? That's sick." "Sick is lying to two people simultaneously. Sick is convincing your boyfriend to transfer departments so you can fuck around behind his back. Sick is making someone feel crazy for noticing you're never around." My voice stayed calm, cold. "We didn't torture you. We just stopped pretending not to see through your bullshit." "I never meant—" "Save it." Ethan moved to stand beside me, his presence solid and reassuring. "You don't get to play victim here." Marcus's eyes were wild, darting between us like he was looking for an exit. "So what, you two just bonded over hating me? That's what this is?" "Initially?" I shrugged. "Sure, but it evolved." "Into what?" "Into something real." Ethan's hand found mine. "Something you never gave either of us." The gesture, public, deliberate, seemed to break something in Marcus. His face crumpled. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't want to hurt anyone. It just happened, and then I didn't know how to stop it, and you didn't try very hard," I finished. "You made choices, Marcus. Every day for months, you chose to lie. You chose to keep us separate. You chose yourself." "I loved you." "Past tense. Good." I squeezed Ethan's hand. "I need you to leave now." "Julian!" "No, we're done. Sign whatever papers you need to sign for the lease, take your shit, move on." I met his eyes. "I have." He stood there for another moment, looking lost and small and nothing like the man I'd thought I loved. Then he left. The door clicked shut behind him. Silence filled the apartment. "You okay?" Ethan asked quietly. I took inventory. My hands weren't shaking, my chest didn't ache. I felt light. "Yeah," I said, surprised by how true it was. "I actually am." "No regrets about how we did it?" "None." I turned to face him. "Thank you for being my partner in this. In everything." "Anytime." He pulled me close, resting his forehead against mine. "So, what now?" "Now?" I smiled. "Now we finish making dinner. Maybe watch that movie you keep talking about. Fall asleep on the couch." "That's it? No dramatic next step?" "The drama's over. This is the good part." He kissed me, slow and sweet and filled with promise. "I can work with that." We went back to the kitchen, leaving Marcus and his apologies in the past where they belonged. 3 months passed like water, smooth and unremarkable in the best possible way. I got promoted in operations. Turns out when you weren't constantly anxious about your relationship, you could actually focus on work. Who knew? Ethan stayed in marketing, but started consulting on cross-departmental projects. We saw each other during the day now, in meetings and hallways, and nobody cared. Turns out company policy wasn't nearly as strict as Marcus had made it seem. Funny how that worked. Marcus left the company 6 weeks after our confrontation, took a job in another city, sent a final apology text that I read once and deleted. Good riddance. But the best change wasn't professional. It was the way Ethan's toothbrush appeared next to mine in my bathroom, the way his clothes migrated into my closet, the way my place became our place, without any formal discussion. We never actually talked about moving in together. I watched him cook dinner in our kitchen like he'd always been there. You want me to leave? He glanced over his shoulder, ever I raised. God, no. Then what's the problem? No problem, just observing. He turned off the stove, moving to cage me against the counter. Having second thoughts about the revenge that turned into a relationship? Are you kidding? Best revenge ever. I prefer to think of it as the best accident. Accident implies it wasn't meant to happen, wasn't it? His eyes were warm, familiar, home. You think we were supposed to find each other through Marcus? I think we found each other despite him. I pulled him closer. Everything good in my life happened after he left it. Ethan kissed me, soft and sure. Sap. Your sap. Yeah, he smiled against my lips. Mine. We had dinner, watched TV, made love slowly, unhurried, like we had all the time in the world. Because we did. No lies, no secrets. No wondering if the person beside me was really present or already halfway out the door. Just us. As I fell asleep that night, Ethan's arm around my waist, his breath even against my neck, I thought about that first night in the bar. How broken I'd felt. How certain I was that Marcus's betrayal had ruined everything. I was wrong. His betrayal had freed me, freed us both. And what we'd built in the aftermath, forged and shared hurt and planned revenge and unexpected chemistry, was stronger than anything I'd had before. Hey, Ethan murmured, half asleep. Love you. My chest tightened in the best way. Love you too. He squeezed my hand, all ready to drift him off. I stayed awake a little longer, memorizing this moment, this feeling. Peace. 6 months after Marcus left, I stopped thinking about him entirely. It happened gradually, then all at once. One day I realized I hadn't checked his social media in weeks, hadn't wondered where he was or who he was with, hadn't measured my happiness against his absence. I'd simply moved on. You look pleased with yourself, Ethan observed over breakfast. We'd gotten into a routine. I made coffee, he made breakfast. We read the news on our phones in comfortable silence before heading to work. Domestic. Boring. Perfect. I'm just thinking, I said, about how a year ago I thought changing departments was the biggest sacrifice I'd ever make. And now? Now I realize it was the best thing that could have happened. If I'd stayed in marketing, I never would have been at that bar, never would have met you. Ethan kissed into my coffee. So you're saying Marcus did us a favor? In the most roundabout, painful way possible, yes. Should we send him a thank you card? Absolutely not. We laughed, the kind of easy laughter that comes from actually knowing someone, from being seen and chosen every single day. Work was good. The revenge plot was ancient history. Marcus was a footnote in our story, not the main character. This, right here, right now, this was the main character. Us, together, building something real. I have a meeting with your department today. Cross-functional team-building exercise. Sounds painful. Want to get lunch after? The good sandwich place? The overpriced and pretentious one? That's the one. I smiled. Yeah, I'd like that. He kissed my forehead on his way out. See you in a few hours. Love you. Love you too. The door closed behind him. I sat in our home, and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Complete. Not because I had a partner, not because revenge had been satisfying, not because Marcus was gone. Because I'd found myself again in the wreckage. Found someone who saw me fully and stayed anyway. Found the courage to trust something new. We'd started as partners in crime. We'd become partners in everything else. And that was the best revenge of all. Living well, loving freely, moving forward. Marcus had tried to keep us apart, keep us secret, keep us controlled. Instead, he gave us the greatest gift. Each other. I finished my coffee, grabbed my laptop, and headed for work. Another normal day. Another moment of peace. I wouldn't trade it for anything. The epilogue was 1 year later. The company holiday party was in full swing when someone asked the inevitable question, "So how did you two meet?" Ethan and I exchanged a look. The kind of look that comes from shared history and inside jokes, and a story that sounds insane when you say it out loud. "We met at a bar," I said carefully. "It was a very interesting night," Ethan added. "Interesting how?" I smiled. "Let's just say we bonded over a shared experience." "A very shitty experience," Ethan clarified, "but with an excellent ending." The person, someone from accounting whose name I'd already forgotten, looked between us, clearly wanting more details. "That's it?" they pressed. "Just a bar?" "Trust me," Ethan said, his hand finding mine under the table. "The full story is way too complicated for a work party. It involves revenge, betrayal, and enough dramatic irony to fill a telenovela," I added. "And yet, somehow, we're the functional couple here." Ethan gestured around at the party, where at least 3 people were crying in corners and someone from IT was aggressively hitting on the bartender. "Standards are low," I agreed. We escaped to the balcony, drinks in hand, leaving confused partygoers in our wake. The city glowed below us. Cold air bit at exposed skin. Ethan's arm around my shoulders kept me warm. "Think anyone will figure out the real story?" I asked. "Eventually. Office gossip is thorough." "Does it bother you that we started the way we did?" Ethan turned to face me, his expression serious. "Not even a little. Every good story needs a memorable beginning. Getting cheated on by the same guy is memorable. So is falling for the person you were supposed to hate." I laughed. "We really did this backwards. Revenge first, love second. Very efficient." "Is that what this is? Efficiency?" "This," he said, pulling me closer, "is the inevitable conclusion of 2 smart, attractive people being forced into proximity while plotting elaborate psychological warfare. Romance." "Exactly." He kissed me, tasting like champagne and promises kept. "Any regrets?" he asked when we pulled apart. I thought about it. About Marcus and the transfer, and that photo that had changed everything. About crying in a bar and meeting a stranger who'd become everything. Only one. "What's that?" "I wish we'd met under different circumstances. Wish you'd walked into my life without all the baggage." Ethan shook his head. "The baggage made us who we are, made us appreciate this, made us careful with each other in ways we might not have been otherwise." "So, no regrets?" "My only regret is not ordering better drinks that first night. We really went bottom shelf on our origin story." I burst out laughing. "That's what you're focused on?" "We bonded over cheap vodka and shared trauma. It's undignified." "But effective." "But effective," he agreed. We stood there on the balcony, watching the city, wrapped around each other like it was the most natural thing in the world. It was. Marcus had tried to keep us separate, keep us secret, keep us controlled. Instead, he'd created the exact circumstances for us to find each other, to see each other, to choose each other. The universe had a twisted sense of humor. I was grateful for it anyway. "Want to get out of here?" Ethan asked. "Absolutely." "Your place or mine?" "They're the same place." He grinned. "Right. Forgot." We left the party hand in hand, ditching small talk and forced networking for takeout and bad movies, and the kind of quiet evening that used to seem boring, but now felt like everything. This was our story now. Not the revenge, not the betrayal, not Marcus. This. Us. Together. Building something real out of ruins. That's what we'd done. Taken the worst thing that had happened to us and transformed it into the best thing. 2 hearts, 1 secret alliance. A love story that began in betrayal but ended in something neither of us saw coming. Peace. Partnership. Home. And if sometimes people asked about our origin story, about how we found each other, we'd just smile and say it was complicated. Because the truth was too wild to believe. And also, it was ours. Private. Sacred. Let them wonder. We had better things to do than explain ourselves. Like building a life together. Like waking up every morning knowing we'd chosen each other deliberately. Like turning something that should have broken us into the foundation of everything we'd become. Marcus was a footnote now. A cautionary tale. The person who'd accidentally given us exactly what we needed by taking away what we thought we wanted. We should have hated him for it. Instead, we just moved on. That's the real revenge, isn't it? Not making someone suffer, not seeking elaborate justice, just living so well they become irrelevant. We'd done that. We were doing that. And every day it got easier. Every day I woke up next to Ethan and remembered, this is what it's supposed to feel like. This ease, this trust, this choice to stay. Not obligation wrapped in love languages, just love. Simple and complicated and entirely ours. "You're thinking too loud," Ethan said from the couch, where he already claimed his spot and queued up something terrible we'd both enjoy. "Sorry. Come here." I did, settled against him like I'd been doing it forever, his arm around my shoulders, his heartbeat steady under my ear. "Better?" he asked. Perfect. And it was. We started as partners in crime. We ended as partners in everything. Sometimes the best love stories begin in the worst possible way. Sometimes revenge leads to redemption. Sometimes two broken hearts make something whole. This was our story, and I wouldn't change a single chapter. Even the painful ones, especially those, because they led me here, to him, to us, to home. The end.